Joining us now is Mr. Richard McMahon, Speaker of Guernsey. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for taking out time speaking to Sansad TV. Let me begin by asking you about the inaugural session that you just attended. What's been the most remarkable takeaway from the multiple speeches that were delivered by keynote speakers this morning?
Well, I think the theme of the conference is very much about sharing best practice amongst speakers and presiding officers, and there's always a great opportunity to learn something that we can then take back to our own parliaments that means that we can serve the members better.
This is by far the most grand and the largest CSPOC ever in terms of the participation of the speakers and presiding officers being held in India, which is the mother of democracy. What are your expectations in terms of the shared best practices, especially with regard to the use of technology and the impact of social media?
Well, I think parliamentarians rely upon social media now much more than would have been the case a generation ago, because it just didn't exist then. So they want to be able to engage with their electorate. We have a small parliament here in Guernsey where there are 38 members elected in a single constituency, and that really means that everyone knows their members very, very well. And that's why they want to have the opportunity to engage with them. I'm a strange type of person as a presiding officer in that I'm ex officio by virtue of the office that I hold, rather than being an elected person, and that is unusual.
At a time, you heard the chairperson of the IPU speak about some of the shared challenges of parliaments within the Commonwealth, and she specifically mentioned about the year beginning not at a very good note. So at a time when there is a fragile global environment, how important is a platform like CSPOC for global parliamentary diplomacy, for global parliamentary cooperation?
Well, I think it's always important to have that opportunity to talk about what makes each individual parliament across the Commonwealth tick. And that is an opportunity for all of us to try and learn a little bit, to try and take something back again. But the world is a very different place today than it was even 5 years ago. Conflicts are existing, and that is quite troubling.
How do you think parliamentary diplomacy complements the traditional diplomacy when it comes to sharing best practices? And at a time when it's being held in India, India believes in the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It says the world is one family. It doesn't believe in countries weaponizing technology.
Well, I think technology is going to be an issue for everyone going forwards. The issue for our parliamentarians, for the Commonwealth parliamentarians, is to try and use it for something good rather than something bad. I think deep down the opportunity that exists for us to just discuss different principles that underpin things, whether it be technology, whether it be artificial intelligence, you name it, whether it be the security and the mental health and well-being of people who operate in the parliamentary estate. That's really quite important.
So in terms of best practices, Mr. Speaker, as we wind up the conversation, I'd like to ask you, what do you expect to take back? Because yours is a smaller parliament, but the CSPOC is happening in a bigger parliament. But at the same time, there are so many best practices, there are so many experiences that India is the world's largest democracy and a country whose parliament has switched to adaptation of technology rapidly. What is it that you expect to take with you?
Well, I think that there is a real chance that the use of technology will help. So, for example, in Little Guernsey, we use a form of electronic voting. So rather than calling people's names out and asking them how they vote, they'll get a little bit of time to cast their votes using an app. And that's a very small example of how technology is assisting in a small parliament like ours.
Wish you a great stay here in India, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for taking our time and speaking to us.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.